Something big exploded behind the scenes in Washington, an unexpected shakeup, sensitive files, and a name that never leaves the headlines. What are they hiding and why? When Donald Trump decides to remove Pam Bondi from the center of communications amid the chaos of the Epstein files, this isn't administrative detail, it's a political signal, and a major one. We're talking about a crisis that wasn't born today, but has now become impossible to control. The official narrative tries to sell the idea of internal adjustments, but anyone who follows Washington closely knows no one is moved off the board without a reason. Bondi, former Florida Attorney General and trusted Trump ally, came to be seen as a problem, not because she spoke too much, but because she couldn't contain the damage. Poorly worded documents, confused responses from the Department of Justice, and erratic communication opened dangerous gaps. In politics, gaps become leaks, and leaks become scandals. The Epstein case was never just legal. It has always been political, moral, and institutional. Every DOJ decision is read as a signal of who will be protected and who will be exposed. When communication fails, suspicion grows. What is being hidden? Why so much resistance to total transparency? Trump understands image like few others. He knows that scandals don't get erased, they get managed. And when management fails, you replace the manager. Bondi became the scapegoat for a larger crisis, the perception that the DOJ is more concerned with shielding reputations than serving justice. This move reveals something deeper: fear. Fear of documents, of emails, of records that cannot be unread. Fear of contradictions between public discourse and internal facts. In Washington, when fear enters the scene, truth is usually the first casualty. And this is where the story starts to get really uncomfortable for Trump, because it's no longer about political opposition, but about official records, papers, data, things that don't get intimidated by inflammatory speeches. What has come to light from reports and comments by journalists like Chris Hayes is devastating, not because of sensationalism, but because of the banality of the cover-up. We're not talking about a grand cinematic secret, but something worse: bureaucratic manipulation. Internal DOJ emails, according to reports, show a deliberate effort to control damage. Names selectively redacted. Information protected not for clear legal reasons, but for political convenience. This isn't just unethical, it's potentially illegal. The most explosive point involves travel records linking Trump to Jeffrey Epstein's jet. We're not asserting criminal guilt here, and this needs to be clear. But we are talking about serious contradictions between public statements and internal documents. When a politician says, "I was never there," and records emerge that cast doubt on this, the problem stops being gossip and becomes institutional credibility. The DOJ cannot operate as the public relations department for any president. Its function is to protect the public interest, not the political capital of whoever occupies the White House. When Congresspeople begin questioning selective redactions, the signal is clear: something is wrong. Public trust in the justice system depends on rules applied equally. If names are concealed only to avoid embarrassment, we're facing a serious distortion of the rule of law. The law doesn't provide protection against embarrassment. It provides protection against injustice. And here's the central dilemma. Each attempt to hide further weakens Trump's political defense, because those who are innocent don't fear complete files. Those who are innocent don't need filtered versions of the truth. The comparison with other powerful names exposes this contradiction even further. Bill Clinton, for example, publicly stated that he would support the total release of any file mentioning him. Whether you agree with Clinton or not, that stance communicates something simple: I'm not afraid of what's in there. Trump did the opposite. He resisted. He blocked. He questioned the motivation of those asking for transparency. And this matters because politics is, to a large extent, perception. Les Wexner, billionaire and former Epstein associate, also never demanded total opening of the files. The pattern repeats among those who prefer silence to light. Meanwhile, conservative media voices try to reduce everything to an image problem. Megyn Kelly went so far as to treat the case as a public relations disaster. This is a profound moral error. We're not talking about branding. We're talking about real victims, real abuses, and a system that repeatedly failed to protect them. When the political and media elite transforms justice into a communication strategy, it reveals its priority: power above truth. And it's precisely this logic that fuels public cynicism and erodes democracy. The Epstein case continues to haunt because it was never confronted with the necessary seriousness. Each attempt at suppression only reinforces the feeling of impunity for the powerful and abandonment for the victims. The final blow in this story comes with the revelation that DOJ communications have come to be directly shaped by advisors linked to Trump. According to Axios, Stephen Chung assumes a central role in the public narrative. This isn't a technical detail, it's institutional capture. When the White House begins to directly influence how the Department of Justice talks about a scandal involving the president himself, the red line has already been crossed. The DOJ stops being a referee and becomes a player. This explains the obsession with narrative, but narrative doesn't replace facts. And sooner or later, documents speak. Leaks happen. People decide not to carry the weight of silence alone. The central message here is simple and powerful. This isn't about left versus right. It's about truth versus manipulation, justice versus propaganda. If Trump truly believes in his innocence, the path is obvious. Total transparency, without filters, without selective redactions. Anything short of that sounds like fear. And in politics, fear is an indirect confession of weakness. The Epstein case isn't over. It has merely entered a new phase. Quieter, more technical, and far more dangerous for those who depend on darkness. If you want a system that works for everyone, not just the powerful, this debate matters. Leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and join the conversation in the comments. Is total transparency a right or a threat to those at the top? Let's talk.